Hello again. All right, so today we are going to spend our time talking about whether or not you should be your own general contractor. And I'll be honest with you, there are several things to factor into account with this decision, and there are several things that most people don't think about when assessing this decision. I know I was that way. Just to put it into perspective, I have built around 10 houses over the course of, I don't know, since I graduated. And I would say over half of those I have been my own general contractor on. So just FYI. I'm not an expert by any means, but I am right now in the process of roughly one every 9 months. So I have some experience. I have not done this for other people ever. So I would not be qualified to speak nearly as fluently as some. But from my perspective, the most important thing to factor into this consideration is not money, it's actually time. Your time has value, and depending on how much value you assess to your time will help you determine if you should do this or not. It takes a lot of time. I'm not sure exactly how long. There's a lot of variables, i.e. how close you are to the project yourself, your house, where you're coming from, how close the store is to where you're going to get some supplies, preferably a big box store, and a lot of other factors and variables. But time is the biggest decision. It takes a lot of time. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it takes a lot of time to build a house. It seems like it's just easy and you just throw some calls together and that's it. It's not. You got to meet people all the time. You got to make decisions all the time. You gotta. It's not a 1 hour a month job. It is at least, depending on my experience, depending on the week, it's 2 to 5 usually hours per week, maybe a little less, a little more, depending on what stage you're at. But here's the point. The most important part of this decision, like I said, is not it's not the time. It is the financing. The financing on this, if you're going to be your own general contractor, is killer. You cannot be your own general contractor unless you have some building experience. If you have some building experience, that's a completely different story, and you're going to be your own general contractor anyways, so this video really isn't for you. If you don't, and you don't have a relationship with the bank, you're going to struggle to get a bank that's going to trust you to be a general contractor, especially for yourself. I guarantee there has been so much fraud in this industry and in this segment of the market that they have just shut it down. I have been able to do it one time, and only because I had built with that bank before. Now, if I got approved with banks, which I could now easily with how many I've done, but I just haven't wanted to finance my builds with banks, partially because it's a pain in the butt. So construction loans are not easy. You have to, every time you need money, you have to get a draw, which usually involves some sort of a bank, either rep coming out and checking the progress, or sending in pics, or meeting somebody there and showing them where the project is. Thankfully, usually nowadays it's pictures, but not always. So the loan process is not as easy as it should be. It's clunky, it's cumbersome. You have rate issues sometimes with one rate lock or two. It's just not like a standard loan. And I contend that this is why more people don't build. This is why a lot of the new homes that you see, in my opinion, are spec homes that people buy, is because the lending on these construction loans is kind of a pain. So here we have time, we have lending or financing. You can build with a builder that will finance for you. Obviously it's going to cost you more, but that's possible. and a good idea. I would encourage you, if you're even remotely considering this, to have a partner, right? Consider it like a partnership. If I was going to build and I was actually considering doing general contracting versus not, obviously you're going to save a ton of money, which is why you're considering being your own general contractor. It's very expensive. But I would get somebody that you trusted and liked, maybe a friend of a friend, or maybe you have a friend that does this, and he or she would just let you do parts and pieces of it. Then, if you wanted to sub out, for example, in our area, insulation would be very easy to sub out, right? Insulation, you could meet the guy over there. It's gonna, most of my houses, it's in between $5,000 and $10,000, so you're gonna save. You're going to save contracting on that. Maybe you have a friend that does something. That would be my way to go. Then you can rely on them for where you don't have contacts or relationships, and you can rely on yourself for where you do. And then if you go that route, they will be able to stamp their name on the contract with the bank, and you'll be able to use them for financing. And then maybe they'd cut you a break and say anything you take on yourself. Maybe let's say they're going to charge you 15% across the board. Maybe they'd only charge you, I don't know, 14% on that. I'm sorry, 1% on that, and you could save 14% on that. So maybe you could get, let's say it's $10,000. Let's say their contracting fee is 15%. So usually that 10,000 is going to go up to 11,500. It's going to go up by $1,500. So, if you could take that and save 1,400 of it, that adds up. And you can cherry pick out the contractors that you either know or you just think sound easy. Not HVAC, definitely not. Insulation would be one of those. Think yard work, think landscaping, just think stuff that's hard to need to worry about, like a warranty on, or not a warranty, job faultiness on. So I would not use this for like plumbing or something. I mean, but there's a lot of places in the house that maybe you could figure out a way to use your own. Obviously, if you're thinking about being your own general, you have some relationships already. So anyways, I would focus on those as my primary decision. Obviously, you're going to save. General contracting costs anywhere between 10 and 20%. So you're going to save 10 to 20% if you're your own general. I don't think there's huge, massive risks to being your own general contractor. That's my experience anyways. My biggest risks have been forgetting to run an electrical line to an island, and I have to dig it up, or not putting a drain in a garage, and I have to dig it up and put one in. I mean, those things do add up. If I was a real or more thorough general contractor and maybe had more experience, I would remember those things. But those add up. But they're $1,000, so they're $500, sometimes, depending on what it is. So depending on what it is, you just do a lot of running around. A lot of it's a lot of fun, but the lending thing is the biggest piece that I think people underestimate when it comes to being your own general. I think the time is an issue. The cost is an issue. Obviously, you save a ton of money by doing it. I would sincerely encourage you to partner with somebody. Just find a friend of a friend, see if you can talk to them and get them to kind of work with you, or find somebody that can kind of partner with you along the way and give you guidance. You gotta find somebody that knows your local area and your local subs, though. Like, I'm not gonna offer that to somebody. I'm in Indiana. I'm not gonna offer that to somebody in Southern California. There's just no way. I don't have local relationships. It's not just about the process. It's about, you got to trust who you're using. So anyways, you can find somebody, a consultant of some kind that can help you kind of like step by step along the way, but you really need to know your local market. So anyways, it's a fun decision. It's a really fun process. So I know I didn't make it sound like one, but it really is. Building is awesome. You get to be outside, you get to have fun, you get to overcome a lot of obstacles that are just cool, see a lot of cool stuff. It's a really fun process, but it comes with a little bit of risks. The only other thing I'd strongly encourage you to do if you're ever going to be your own general contractor, you must get a builder's risk policy. It functions a little bit more like a homeowner's policy than a liability policy, but you've got to get a builder's risk policy. It's a must-have. It's another cost that the general picks up included in their 10, 15, 20% that they don't usually spend very much time talking about, but it protects them if something happens, protects you if something happens. Anyways, reach out if you have questions.